Hello and welcome to another edition of Supporting School Leaders. I wanted to talk today a little bit about some leadership survival skills. And what I mean by survival skills are things you can incorporate to survive as a leader. Because if you're not surviving, then obviously your institution's not thriving the way that it could. So I'm going to give you, let's do 5 things that you can do to protect your well-being and survive in the post-pandemic world as a leader. The first one, of course, is physical. So that you have to take care of your physical needs in order for everything else to function. I was reflecting the other day about how when I was in graduate school and I looked at all the school leaders that were in my doctoral program, they really kind of fell into 2 categories. And one category was those who just kind of let themselves go, for lack of a better expression, with all of the stress. And they had bad eating habits, they had addictive habits, and they just were kind of overwhelmed, and you could see it physically in them. And I always joke there's one reason why the pension systems are so generous for school leaders, because they've looked at the actuary tables. And the longer you're in this profession, the earlier you're going to do yourself in if you don't take care of yourself. So follow these 5 reasons. It may sound very cheesy, but I did actually get myself a fitness watch. And it does help quite a bit. And really it doesn't matter if you have a fitness watch, but the idea is that you need to be mindful of your physical activity in the course of the day. So set reminders for yourself if you need a watch to remind you to stand up and walk around. For me, what's most useful is that if I wind up stuck in my office, which during the pandemic, we're a lot more encased in our video world, I just will reflect on the end of the day of how much I really moved around, how many steps did I take, and set a goal for yourself that you're taking 10,000 steps, 15,000 steps, so that when you get home at the end of the night, ask your family for permission to walk around the neighborhood for a while and get that activity in, and make sure that you're moving enough so that at the end of the day, you've really not penalized yourself for working so hard. And in the old days, we would just keep track of that in our head, I guess. But nowadays, having a machine remind you, or your phone remind you, has actually made my life a little bit more mindful of how much I really am moving. And then looking back over historical data to know, I've got a late meeting, so I really need to move a lot in the evening afterwards. Don't be afraid to hydrate whenever you can. I actually, after spending years of having light headaches from time to time, I realized I was just dehydrated all the time. And what I did is I bought a water cooler and put it directly across from my desk, so that every time I sat down, I was looking at 5 gallons of water, because I just needed, some people carry the giant 32-ounce thermoses around. I really can't do that. But if you're staring at a jug of water, sometimes that will remind you. So really, the leaders that I've met who are successful are the ones that fall into the second category, who are just super active. And some of them are a little over the top. You always hear about the superintendents who are running their, 10 to 15 miles in the morning before work. Or, the mayors that go into the gym and do all their emails and stuff from the treadmill in the morning. I don't know if that's really a key to success, but I think having a routine, taking care of yourself, figuring out what your meals are going to be. So if you're tending to an organization, you have to be organized around your own physical life first. And if you haven't got that under control, you're a poor example to the people that are working with you. And that leads me to number 2, which is to be organized. And by being organized, I recommend the total Zen approach to an office. Get rid of the inbox, get rid of your paper stacks, get rid of your personal effects. Have, very conference room, simplistic office. One of the things I implement sometimes is I just work in different areas. I'll have my laptop and maybe a binder that I transport with me, and I'll work in different places. And even at the school, I know school leaders who'll go to the back of an 8th grade class and just set up in the back and work there. And just by being a friendly adult presence in the background with some authority, you don't really have to look up even. They just see you working. And we forget, even with our own children at home or with students, how little they actually see us engaged in focused, concentrated work. And so we can give an example to our teachers, to our students, by showing how we work and how we're organized. Bad example is that you're the one who's there all the time, stressed out and not taking care of yourself. So don't come in and open up your emails first thing in the morning. Have a plan for your day. When George Bush was president, George W. Bush, he used to divide his day into 15-minute increments, and everything happened, in a series of 15 minutes. You don't really need to be that dramatic with it. Just make sure that you've planned your day and that you follow your plan. Otherwise, you'll fail. So the stakes are kind of high for being organized. I have other videos on how to develop a routine. Number 3 is really find a comfort place and think about how, and it doesn't have to be a physical place necessarily, but think about how your temperament relaxes. So if you're a very extroverted person, sometimes extroverts will go out and they need to be around people. So they need to talk to their office staff, they need to be out at recess, they need to shake hands, talk to people, tell jokes, and then that's reinvigorating for them. They can go back and sit at their desk and then focus, but they need that external out breath. So you really have to be somewhat self-aware. Other people, the whole world is just too much for them in a school environment. Everybody needs them, and they need quiet time where they can just hang a sign on the door that says, in webinar, in conference, not available, or have somebody guard the door, have your assistant, schedule quiet time, and get that if you need it. Drink lots of tea. Some people have, just kind of an inner relationship with calmness, and they'll know when they've reached their max. Other people flutter around like butterflies and feel much better being very extroverted. So I'm not saying that you fight with that tendency, but that you know how you can rejuvenate yourself in the course of a busy day. That's going to lead me to something that is number 4 on this list, is reading. And we really have to give ourselves as school leaders permission to read. And I know we always have to look busy, but it's okay sometimes when you're stressed about something and especially for new leaders, you feel like you always have to be on and under the microscope. Bring a book with you that you're reading. I personally am more addicted to nonfiction and biographies. Some people really can get lost in a novel and carry it with them. When I first started working, I did carry a Tolstoy around that I just reread over and over again. It actually did help my writing in school communications. But whatever it is, give yourself permission to put your feet up and read something. And it's okay for your staff to come in and see you reading a book, really. Say that it's scheduled on your time, put it on there, I'll be reading. And it just gives you a chance to reflect, which is my 5th piece of advice, is to have a reflective practice. And this is sort of twofold. One is you need something at the end of your day to encapsulate what were the most essential things, maybe things you would have done differently, things that have to be continued for tomorrow. And then you basically put them into 2 categories. You put them into the category that you can write down or remember or send a message. Most importantly is the category of letting go. So you need to be able to have a practice where you're collecting up the non-essential tasks, the things that were brought to you, and the things that you're not going to resolve and aren't significant. And you just need to have a way to let those go. And once you can do that, then you'll notice as they come to you in advance which bucket this falls into. Something that does need to be followed up on, or something that you give yourself permission to let go of. Maybe it's something you delegate to someone else, that's fine. But you need to have a practice at the end of your day to slow down and digest the things that have come towards your senses and overloaded you. And if you don't have that, then you'll be taking all those things in an unresolved way into your sleep. which is not a good way to wake up fresh the next morning. So I really recommend you decide consciously what you're going to be taking into your sleep as questions maybe you're working on, and try to be more philosophical about the things you've seen during the day. But then give yourself permission to just remember all the inconsequential things. Over this we have no control. This too shall pass. This is not part of what I'm doing. This is not a priority. This is, and you will see patterns, and maybe if you do that long enough, some things come to you that are just symptomatic, and you can deal with the root cause once you begin to notice it. But please do discard those things that are going to make our life crazy, because that will affect us physically, and then we're right back to not taking care of the first thing I said, which is ourselves. So hope that's been some helpful advice to new leaders, and keep tuning in for following episodes of Supporting School Leaders. Thank you very much.